I was sitting across from my best friend Sabrina in our usual spot, this cozy little booth at the back of the cafe where we had spent countless afternoons over the years. The place had become something like a second home, filled with the warm hum of chatter and the smell of coffee that always clung to the air. I stirred my drink without really thinking about it, letting the spoon clink gently against the ceramic cup. There was a smile on my face, the kind that usually came after one of Sabrina's funny stories. But I could tell I wasn't really there. Not completely. Sabrina caught on right away. She always did. I could never hide much from her, not with how long we'd been friends. She tilted her head, narrowed her eyes just a touch, and leaned in. "All right, spill it," she said, raising an eyebrow. "What's going on with you and Gavin?" She tried to keep her voice light, teasing even, but I could hear the edge underneath it. She was serious. She wanted the truth, and I knew I wasn't getting out of that booth without giving it to her. I let out a long breath and set my spoon down. It made a soft sound against the cup, like a tiny exhale. I looked down for a second before I finally spoke. "Everything's fine," I said quietly, though even to my own ears, it sounded like I was trying to convince myself. "I mean, he's a good husband." "Great, really. We've been together, what? Almost 7 years now." My voice trailed off as I traced slow circles along the rim of the cup, fingers restless. "But sometimes I just feel like something's missing. Like, is this all there is? Shouldn't there be more?" Sabrina's eyes narrowed slightly. I could see the wheels turning in her head. "More?" she repeated, a hint of doubt creeping into her voice. "You mean like passion? Excitement?" I looked up and met her eyes. Gave a tiny nod. "Yeah, I admit it's softer now." "Exactly that. We're comfortable. And that's not a bad thing. It's just, Gavin's perfectly happy with how things are. Meanwhile, I don't know. I feel like I need something else. Something that makes me feel alive again." Sabrina leaned forward, her eyes lighting up with interest. There was something playful in her voice when she said, "Well, funny you should say that. I've actually been trying something new myself." I looked at her, puzzled. "Yeah." She gave me this sly little smile and lowered her voice like she was about to tell me a secret. "Have you ever thought about opening things up a little? Giving yourself the space to meet other people?" My mouth dropped open a little. I stared at her, unsure if she was messing with me. "Wait, are you serious?" She didn't blink, just nodded completely at ease. "Totally serious. My husband and I talked about it. Honestly, it's been good for us. It doesn't have to be anything huge, just a little space to breathe. You might be surprised. Sometimes, it even brings couples closer." I leaned back, stunned. My brain was racing. A part of me was weirdly curious, but another part felt uneasy. I was not sure I was ready to say it out loud, but the thought scared me a little. "But how would I even bring that up to Gavin?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Sabrina's expression softened, but she didn't hold back. "You just tell him the truth. This is not about him, it's about you. About what you need. And who knows? He might understand. Maybe this little shake-up is exactly what your marriage needs." I turned toward the window for a moment, lost in thought. I had no idea that this one conversation would flip my world upside down. I was quiet for a bit before finally leaning in again and whispering, "So how do I even start that conversation?" She gave me this look like she had been waiting for me to ask. "Just be straight with him. Men respect that more than we think. If you dance around it or try to make it sound too gentle, he might get confused. Or worse, think something's wrong." I chewed the inside of my cheek. My mind was swirling. "But what if he thinks I don't love him anymore?" I asked. She shook her head firmly. "No, it is not about that. You love him. You just need something for yourself too. You need to feel like you again. If you explain it right, he'll get that. It's not about blaming him. It's about growing." I sat there for a moment, letting that settle in. "So, I tell him I want to feel alive," I said slowly. "That it's not about us, it's about me." I looked away, doubt flickering in my eyes. "But Gavin's not really into change. He likes things the way they are." Sabrina reached across the table and gave my hand a gentle squeeze. "If he truly loves you, he'll hear you out. If he's willing to listen, that means he cares. That's a start." That night, I found myself sitting across from Gavin at the dining room table. My heart was pounding like crazy. I had rehearsed what I was going to say so many times, but now that it was time, Everything I had planned felt clumsy and strange. I took a deep breath and started. Gavin, there's something I've been thinking about. He looked up from his dinner, calm and kind like always. What is it, Vanessa? I could feel sweat forming on my palms as I tried to gather my thoughts. I've been feeling restless, I said carefully. Not because of you. It's something inside me. Like there's something more out there I need to experience. He set his fork down and gave me his full attention. His face softened. I've been wondering if maybe giving each other a little more freedom could help. I continued. Not because I don't love you, I do, but because I think it might actually be good for us. I watched his face closely, my stomach twisting with nerves. He was quiet for a long time. I couldn't read him. Then, finally, he nodded slowly. So, you want to open our marriage? He asked, voice calm but with a strange edge I could not place. I nodded, just for a little while, just to see. I think it could help us. He leaned back in his chair, arms folded. I see, he said in that same, even tone. If that's what you need, Vanessa, I won't stop you. Relief washed over me. But underneath, it was this weird, unsettled feeling. I had expected more from him, more emotion, more reaction. Something. Then his tone shifted. This freedom, he said slowly. I assume that goes both ways. My breath caught. I had not thought that far ahead. I mean, deep down I knew it would, but I had not really imagined him with someone else. I had been too focused on my own thoughts. Well, yes, I said quietly. If that's something you want to. He gave a slow nod. Thank you for being honest, he said, voice steady. I think I get what you're saying. He let out a breath and held my gaze. I want you to be happy, Vanessa. His voice was calm, too calm. I smiled, but it felt forced. Thin, fragile. I had braced for pushback, maybe even an argument. But instead, he had just accepted it. And that left me feeling a little lost, like I had lost control of the conversation I thought I was leading. A small part of me had hoped he would show something: hurt, anger, confusion, anything that showed he felt the weight of what we were talking about. But he didn't, and that, more than anything, left me shaken. Thank you, Gavin, I whispered. That means a lot. He gave me a faint smile, but there was something in his eyes I could not quite name. There was something about the way Gavin looked at me that night that stuck with me. I could not put my finger on it, but it left a weird feeling in my chest. He had agreed so easily, too easily, maybe, and part of me started to wonder if he had made up his own mind about something too. That thought itched at me for days, a quiet little tug that would not go away. A few nights later, Sabrina and I found ourselves walking into a nightclub, the kind of place we had not been to in forever. It was loud, crowded, and pulsing with neon lights. The bass from the music shook the floor, and the bodies around us moved like they were all plugged into the same beat. There was a buzz in the air, a kind of wild energy that made me feel something I had not felt in a long time. Alive. Sabrina leaned close, grinning as the music roared around us. Well, she shouted over the noise. Look who finally came out to play. How's it feel? I laughed, but it came out kind of shaky. Honestly, I'm still trying to wrap my head around it. I told Gavin, and he just agreed. No argument. No hesitation. He was so calm about it. Her eyebrows shot up. Wow. Guess he's more open-minded than I gave him credit for. Told you, just needed to say it the right way. I nodded, but I could not help frowning. Yeah, but it was almost too easy. Like, he didn't even flinch. Sabrina rolled her eyes and laughed. That's because he's probably thinking about his own options too. Trust me, guys always act chill, but inside, they're already planning their next move. Don't overthink it. This is going to be good for both of you. I wanted to believe that. I really did. I forced a smile and took a deep breath, tried to shake off the nervous knot in my stomach. And what about you? I asked, turning the spotlight back on her. Does your husband know you're out tonight? She hesitated for a second, just a second, before brushing it off with a shrug. He's off hiking with his buddies for the weekend. We've got an understanding. No questions. Just trust. I raised a brow. So he doesn't care where you are or who you're with. Sabrina laughed and grabbed my hand, pulling me toward the bar. Come on, Vanessa. Honesty's great and all, but he doesn't need every detail. This is about freedom. A flicker of doubt crept in, but before I could say anything else, she had already ordered us drinks. She lifted her glass, eyes shining. To freedom and new adventures, she said. I clinked mine against hers and took a long sip. The drink was strong, sweet, and warmed me from the inside out, loosening up my nerves. I let myself go, just a little, and followed her out onto the dance floor. We got lost in the music, moving with the rhythm, laughing like teenagers again. Somewhere in the middle of all that noise and motion, I felt a tap on my shoulder. I turned around, and there he was, Adrian, a guy I had worked with for years, but under the strobing lights and low thump of the music, he looked different, more sure of himself, edgier. "Vanessa," he said, smirking. "Didn't think I'd see you here tonight." I smiled back, feeling this strange rush I had not expected. "Could say the same about you." He introduced his buddy to Sabrina, and soon the four of us were laughing, talking, and clinking glasses like we'd known each other forever. Each round of drinks made everything feel easier. The buzz in my chest pushed away the nerves, and I let the moment carry me. Eventually, we all kind of drifted off into pairs. Adrian and I ended up in a quieter corner, talking about life and relationships. Real stuff. The space between us got smaller and smaller. "This feels different," he said, his voice low. "I've never seen you like this." "I guess I feel different tonight," I replied, barely louder than the music. And I meant it. I felt like someone else, or maybe just more like me than I had in a long time. Everything after that felt like it had already been decided. We left together, laughing as we stepped into the cool night air. The city lights shimmered all around us, casting long shadows as we climbed into a cab. It was a short ride to a little motel on the edge of town. We did not say much. We did not need to. We both knew why we were there. That night was like stepping through a door into a version of myself I had not seen in years. Wild, free, unapologetic. It was exactly what I thought I wanted. But morning came fast. Sunlight leaked through the thin curtains, and the high from the night before was already fading. I got dressed quietly, glancing over at Adrian as he slept soundly. I'd gotten what I came for, hadn't I? I had broken free of the routine. I had tasted the excitement. But walking out into the chilly morning air, all I could think about was Gavin. His face, his voice, that calm, unreadable look he had given me when I told him everything. I got home just as the house was settling into its usual rhythm. Or at least, it should have been. But something felt off. The house was too quiet. Gavin usually made coffee first thing. Maybe he sat at the table with a paper. But today, nothing. No sign of him. I looked in the bedroom, the kitchen, even stepped into the backyard. Nothing. That pit in my stomach tightened. I grabbed my phone and called him. After a few rings, he picked up. His voice was steady, almost cold. "Hey, Vanessa, what's up? Where are you?" I asked, relief washing over me the second I heard him, but guilt tagging right behind it. "I didn't see you this morning." "I'm at the office," he said. "A new project came in. Might keep me here through the weekend." "Oh," I said, trying to sound casual. "Okay. I was just wondering since, yeah, never mind." "Everything's fine, Vanessa," he replied, still distant. "Just a lot going on. I'll be home for dinner." When we hung up, I stood there for a long time, staring at my phone. Something still felt wrong. That evening, as the sun slipped behind the trees, Gavin walked through the door. He looked tired, briefcase in hand. I greeted him with a smile. "Long day?" I asked. "You could say that," he muttered, heading straight for the kitchen. He poured a glass of water slowly, like every movement had weight. I watched him closely. His face gave away nothing. I needed to know what he was thinking. "So," I said, trying to sound offhand, "how do you feel about everything?" "Everything," he repeated, glancing up. "You know, this open marriage idea. Has it meant anything to you? Are you doing anything with it?" He set his glass down and thought for a moment. "Honestly, I haven't had time. This project's taken everything I've got. Maybe after it wraps up, I'll be able to think more clearly about that." A bit of disappointment snuck into my chest, but I nodded. "Yeah, makes sense." Then he looked at me, his voice shifting just slightly. "But what about you? You and Sabrina went out the other night, right?" My heart kicked up. I thought about telling him the truth about Adrian, but the words just wouldn't come. "Yeah," I said instead. "Just some drinks. Danced a bit. Crashed at her place." He watched me carefully. "And how did that make you feel?" That question caught me off guard. But the answer came out before I could stop it. Actually, I felt good. Like I had this spark again, something I thought I lost. For a second, something flickered in Gavin's eyes. Then it was gone. He nodded slowly. Well, I'm happy for you, he said. I smiled, but inside I felt unsteady. His reaction, or lack of one, made me feel like I had misjudged something, like I was playing a game without knowing the rules, and he had already made his move. Over the next few days, I found myself texting Adrian more than I expected. And Sabrina, too. Adrian invited me to a party he was throwing, some big, adults-only thing he swore would blow my mind. He wanted me to bring Sabrina along. I felt curious and cautious. So I called Sabrina. She picked up right away. Hey, Vanessa, you all set for tomorrow? Almost, I said. But what exactly is this party Adrian's throwing? He's been hyping it up, but it sounds different. Oh, it'll be very different, she said with a laugh. Adrian throws the kind of parties people remember. That didn't exactly help my nerves. What about Gavin? I asked. He's been acting distant, like he's just throwing himself into work. I can't tell if he's really okay or just trying to avoid dealing with all this. Sabrina laughed, but there was something sharp behind it. Come on, he's probably just doing what guys do, pretending he's above it all. For all you know, he's already out there doing his own thing. A wave of something twisted in my chest. Jealousy? Regret? I swallowed it down. Maybe, I said. I just wish he'd say something. Forget about Gavin for one night, she told me. Let yourself go. Trust me, this party is exactly the escape you need. My curiosity flared again. Nervousness melted into something more daring. All right, I said. But, Sabrina, when you say fun, what exactly do you mean? Her voice dropped into a mischievous tone. Let's just say you might pick up some new lingo. Ever heard of Milk Brothers? Or the Captain's Wheel? I blinked. Captain's Wheel? I asked, raising an eyebrow, feeling both curious and kind of embarrassed. Sabrina burst out laughing, loud and amused. Oh, you'll see, she said, grinning like the cat that got the cream. Let's just say it's a team activity. Get ready for a night you won't forget. My heart picked up speed. There was something about the mystery, the flirtation, the not knowing what came next. It was addictive. It was everything I had been craving. By the time Saturday night rolled around, I had my story all lined up. I told Gavin I was going out with Sabrina for a simple girls' night. Nothing special, nothing to raise eyebrows. He didn't even look up from his laptop. Have fun, Vanessa, he said, eyes glued to the screen. Don't worry about me. I'll be buried in this project all night. I felt a rush of relief. All right, I said, trying to keep my voice light. Just don't overdo it, okay? He smiled, sort of, but not with his eyes. Then I stepped out the door, and something inside me lit up. His calm, detached reaction, it felt like permission, like he had handed me the keys to do whatever I wanted. Adrian's place was something else, way fancier than I expected. The backyard glowed with soft lights reflecting off the pool, and music drifted through the night air, mixing with laughter and the clink of glasses. The party was bigger, wilder than I imagined. People everywhere, some I recognized, most I didn't, all of them buzzing with that same energy. Adrian spotted us almost right away. He waved us over, smile easy and wide. Vanessa, glad you made it, he said, wrapping Sabrina in a quick hug before turning back to me. By the way, he added, grinning, the pool's fair game tonight. Did you bring a swimsuit? I blinked. Oh no, I didn't even know there was a pool. No worries, he said with a shrug. Underwear works. Or, he added with a wink, nothing at all. No one's judging. I felt my cheeks flush, heat crawling up my neck. Sabrina, unfazed as ever, kicked off her shoes and tossed her bag onto a chair. Come on, Vanessa, she called, and dove into the water with a loud splash. I stood there, hesitating. Then Adrian handed me a drink, and I took it, grateful for something to hold, something to sip. The liquid burned, sweet and strong, and it helped steady my nerves. The vibe was electric, playful, almost reckless. It reminded me of being in college again, back when a night felt endless and nothing mattered but right now. People were laughing, dancing, teasing. The more the drinks flowed, the more boundaries started to blur. What started off feeling harmless quickly turned into something bolder, Touches lingered. Smiles meant more. Dancing turned into something more intimate. I kept telling myself I was just having fun, just living a little. Sabrina, of course, was in her element. She knew how to ride that wave without a second thought. I watched her twirl under the string lights, glowing like the star of her own show. Then Adrian was at my side again, his arm resting around my waist, his voice low and warm against my ear. "So, Vanessa, ready for something new?" His tone sent a little shiver down my spine. We'd been dancing around it all night. But standing there, hearing those words, my excitement turned into something heavier. I had been chasing this feeling for weeks, and now it was here, right in front of me. I think so, I said, though the words felt unsure, like they were sliding out before I could really believe them. We ended up in one of the quieter parts of the house. Smaller groups had broken off, whispers replacing laughter. The energy had shifted, more intimate now, a little darker. Sabrina caught my eye from across the room and lifted her glass in a silent cheers, like she was saying, "You made it. Just go with it." But something inside me shifted. The thrill I had wanted so badly started to feel different. Adrian's touch, the way the others looked at me, it wasn't excitement anymore. It was pressure. Too much, too fast. I took a step back. "Actually, I don't think I'm ready. Not tonight." My voice came out soft but firm. Some people looked confused. A few nodded. Adrian gave me a kind smile and rested his hand gently on my arm. "That's okay," he said. "There's no rush. It takes time." Sabrina, on the other hand, wasn't letting it go so easily. "Come on, Vanessa," she said with a grin. "You were just starting to have fun. You'll love it. Just give it a chance." "I can't, Sabrina. I need a little more time." Adrian looked at her and gave her a small, amused shake of the head. "Let her go at her pace," he said. "Besides, I'm sure you'll find plenty of folks here to keep you company." She rolled her eyes, then laughed and floated off back into the crowd. The party raged on, louder, crazier, but I no longer felt like I belonged there. I slipped into an empty room and shut the door. For the first time all night, I could actually hear myself think. The sound of the party was muffled now, like it was happening on a different planet. I poured a glass of wine and sat quietly, letting out a breath I didn't even know I'd been holding. And without even meaning to, my mind drifted back to Gavin, to his still, unreadable expression, the way he had barely reacted. How calm he had seemed. Too calm. Had I misread everything? Was I so busy chasing something else that I missed what was right in front of me? A wave of guilt, no doubt, hit me like a slow, cold tide. By the time the party started dying down and people trickled out into the early morning, I was still sitting there, lost in my own head. Sabrina found me eventually, still riding the high of the night. She nudged me with her elbow. "Hey, you good?" "You kind of vanished on me." I smiled, but it was a weak thing. "Yeah, I don't think this is really for me." She laughed, shaking her head. "You just need to warm up. Next time, you'll be all in." But I didn't say anything, because for the first time, I wasn't sure I wanted there to be a next time. By the time I left, the sun was already rising, turning the sky that soft pink color that feels more lonely than romantic. I drove home in silence. Just me, the road, and 1,000 thoughts I couldn't shake. For weeks I had told myself this was what I needed, that this was how I would feel alive again. But now all I could think about was the question I had been ignoring. What had Gavin been doing while I was gone? And for the first time, I wasn't sure I wanted to know the answer. When I walked into the house, it felt different. Still, but not in a peaceful way. The darkness clung to everything. I figured Gavin had gone to bed, but something was off. The bed was untouched, perfectly made. The room felt empty. I stepped closer and saw it, the closet. A few of his things were missing. The comforter from his side of the bed gone. My stomach turned. Then I saw the stack of papers on the nightstand. I reached for them with shaking hands. And there it was. Divorce. The word hit me like a punch. It was big and bold at the top of the page, and even though my eyes were reading it, my brain couldn't catch up. This can't be happening, I whispered. But suddenly, everything made sense. Gavin's quiet. His patience. His steady, unreadable eyes. He had made his decision, too. He hadn't agreed to the open marriage. Not really. He'd been waiting. That realization hit me like a gut punch. Before I even knew what I was doing, My fingers were already dialing his number. My heart was pounding so hard I could barely breathe. Straight to voicemail. I called again. No answer. Just like that, Gavin was gone. The next few days were hell. I texted him, called him, left voicemail after voicemail, each one more desperate than the last. I said everything. That I was sorry. That I wanted to talk. That I had made a mistake. But it was like I was shouting into a void. No reply. No sign of him. It was like he had vanished. And then, finally, a message came through. But it wasn't from Gavin. It was from his lawyer. Dry. Cold. Formal. The message was short and clear. Gavin wanted a divorce. No meeting. No discussion. Just a clean break. And when I thought it couldn't possibly get any worse, it did. At work, I noticed a change right away. The smiles that used to greet me were gone. Conversations stopped when I walked by. The air felt heavier. Judgmental. It didn't take long to figure out why. Somehow, Gavin had collected everything. My texts with Adrian, photos, even details from that party. He'd gotten surveillance. Private investigator-level stuff. And it had all started making its way around the office. Whispers. Looks. My company was conservative, strict on reputation. It was only a matter of time. I got called in my supervisor's office. Their face was blank, but the tone in their voice said it all. Disappointment, and maybe a little disgust. My conduct was now under review. Everything I had worked for, my career, my stability, was slipping right through my fingers. And the worst of it still wasn't over. By the time the court date rolled around, I felt like a shell of myself. I was numb, moving through the world in a haze, barely present. In the courtroom, I watched helplessly as Gavin's legal team presented everything. Private messages, photos, screenshots, even notes from a private investigator who had tracked my nights out with Sabrina, my texts with Adrian, and my presence at that party. It all came out, one by one, piece by piece. Everything I thought I had kept hidden was dragged out into the open. It wasn't just our marriage falling apart. It was a public dismantling of my life. What started as excitement now looked reckless. Selfish. Naive. Gavin didn't do it out of rage. He did it with strategy. Quiet and exact. And he used it all. The divorce was vicious. Nothing was off limits. My job was gone. Adrian was fired too. His reputation tanked along with mine. And then came the twist I hadn't seen coming. Gavin had sent everything to Eric, Sabrina's husband. Turns out their understanding had been a lie. Eric didn't know. He hadn't agreed to anything. When he found out, he filed for divorce immediately. The fallout was brutal. Fast. Cold. People we'd known for years turned their backs. Friends disappeared. Alliances broke overnight. The people who used to praise Sabrina for being so bold, they vanished too. She was furious. And she blamed me. She said I ruined her marriage. Said Gavin had planned the whole thing, and I'd walked right into it. She blocked me, cut me out completely. Just like that, I was on my own. The scandal spread like wildfire. Neighbors whispered. Friends went silent. Even my family, the ones I thought would stand by me, looked at me with quiet disappointment. Meanwhile, Gavin became the picture of grace. The heartbroken husband who had handled everything with dignity and class. And me? I was the villain. Days passed with no word. No hope. Then one evening, I got a message from him. He agreed to meet. I didn't care where. I just needed to see him. To talk. When we sat down, the air between us felt heavy. He looked like himself, but colder. Farther away. I reached for his hand, tears already welling up. Gavin, I said, voice cracking. Please. I made a mistake. A huge one. I thought it would help us. I thought maybe opening things up would bring us closer. I only slept with Adrian once. And at that party, I didn't go through with anything. I swear. He looked at me for a long moment, then finally spoke. Vanessa, he said, voice steady. When someone suggests an open marriage, they've usually already made the decision. The marriage is already broken. They just haven't said it out loud. I swallowed hard, but he wasn't finished. You weren't honest with me. You wanted both worlds. You wanted to explore, but still keep me. You didn't tell me the truth. You kept things from me. That's what broke us. I looked down ashamed. Because he was right. I hadn't just wanted freedom. I wanted it without consequence. Without loss. I wanted this to end cleanly, he said. I thought maybe we could walk away without wrecking everything. But when you started lying, that's when I knew it was over. There was no anger in his voice, just quiet resolve. I don't think this can be fixed, Vanessa, he said. I just don't. And in that moment, I knew it was done. The ride home felt surreal. The world outside the windshield blurred into streaks of light and shadows. I kept seeing the same question play over and over in my head. How did I let it come to this? I had been chasing something I thought I needed, excitement, newness, escape. But in chasing it, I'd unraveled everything. My marriage, my job, my friendships, myself. Now, there was nothing left. Choices have consequences. And sometimes, those consequences hit harder than you ever thought possible. I pulled into the driveway and shut off the engine. Sat there in the quiet. The house looked the same, but everything inside had changed. I closed my eyes and let out a shaky breath. I didn't know if forgiveness would ever come. I didn't know if I even deserved it. But one thing I knew for sure, this was the cost. And I was the one who'd written the check.